Hello and welcome to Woman Power. I'm your host Lorna Greyling, and today in studio we have a phenomenal guest all the way from South Africa, Johannesburg, Nicky Liebenberg. She is an internationally acclaimed and award-winning artist. She has pieces exhibiting at the moment in Rosebank and Cape Town. She's a mother of 3 beautiful children and a wife to her husband Skalk for 24 years. And what makes this artist work so special is the extraordinary journey that she was on and how this impacted her work. Nicky, thank you. Joining us from Johannesburg. I believe it's freezing.
Yeah, it is freezing. Yeah.
We have summer here in Florida at the moment, so I have to brag a little bit.
Can I come? I'll be there in about a day.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us. This is so special to have you here. I've been going onto your website just to have a look at your art, and it is so special. I think you have such an extraordinary way of making a spiritual message, so powerful, and using the red and the blue. Why is this so profound for you, the colors? I know on your website it states that, you've got the red threads that you actually weave into the art pieces as well as the blue. And then you're very captivating on the heart and the mind. Explain to us a little bit why this is so special for you.
Well, I like to use colors, as symbolism in my work. So I'm very interested, I'm a Christian, so I've got a Christian worldview, and I try and bring Christian theme, biblical theme into my work. I try to depict in a sense, the condition of man, the condition of the human condition, in relation to the divine, in relation to God. And that's why there's a lot of duality in the work. There's always like a mirror reflection. So there'll be, one aspect will be the divine, and the other aspect will be the humanity. And so I try to use color to bring that symbolism in of that. There's always like a divine exchange, a divine, in a way, like a transfusion that's happening in the spirit between God and man, or God and humanity, like the human circulation system. So a lot of it's about the color of the veins, and then the blood, which is symbolic of the blood of Christ or Jesus in the work. And so I try and portray that divine relationship that's actually ongoing, and God's his will and his desire to be in relationship with us. That's in a way that he's always pursuing. So that's why I use the thread and I use the color, because I try and bring that element into all my pieces. I often say that the thread is the redemptive element in my work.
That's beautiful. So what does the red mean? The red is the blood of Christ and the forgiveness and love. And what is blue? What is the blue mean?
Well, a lot of the time the blue is kind of the human side, which is the side that's in need of the side that's in need of that healing and redemption, and that divine infusion, that divine transfusion. So we kind of give God our dirty blood, and he gives us his pure blood. It's like this. Wow. And then in so doing, he transfuses us to be whole.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so beautiful. And this tells a little bit about the journey that you were on, because now you have an extraordinary family, beautiful, 2 girls and a boy, mother of 3. You've been married for 24 years. Congratulations.
I should be congratulated.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job.
Yeah.
So you have this incredible picture-perfect family. You've been married, to this incredible man for 24 years. But your journey didn't actually start out like that. And I think, that is something that is so inspiring to me, where you came from and where you are now. So a few years ago, let's say that, your life looked so different, Nicky. I mean, you were at that stage convinced that you were gay. You were in relationships with other women. You were on drugs. Your life was so different. Tell us about that life, how it started, and how you came to a point to come to this change, to choose this whole new life.
I think it all started, I know this really goes a long way back, but I mean, it really did start, you know, for me in utero. I was, you know, I wanted to self-abort. My mom had to actually stay in bed for 2 months before I was born, and then just to keep me in. And then I was on top of that born 2 months early. So, and immediately from birth, I was put into an incubator for 5 weeks. So I never had that, you know, bonding with my mom. I didn't have any contact with her after birth. So, you know, I think, you know, for me, I believe a lot of it started there already. Not having that, you know, bonding with my mother. And I think from a very early age, I didn't feel like I really fitted in anywhere. I didn't feel like I had a real close connection with anybody. I didn't feel, you know, really connected to my parents, or, you know, we were a family, but there wasn't really any intimacy in terms of relationship.
So you just felt really rejected and like you were not fitting in anywhere.
Yeah, I didn't. You know, my dad kind of always wanted a boy, so I kind of tried to be a boy to gain his acceptance, you know. Oh. And my mom, she was just working and trying to keep everything together, and, you know, so she wasn't really very involved in my life either. I kind of very much raised myself, you know. Yeah, I mean, I was provided for and everything, but you know, in terms of real involvement, there wasn't really a lot of that from adults in my life. Not much, yeah.
And from a young age, I know you told me that you felt very alone in school as well, and you really looked different as well. I mean, you dressed differently to other girls, and just a complete feeling of not being accepted and not knowing, you know, where you fit in and who you are.
Yeah, I didn't fit in with either the boys or girls. I didn't have close friends because the boys thought I was too tomboyish, and you know, all the boys, they thought I wasn't like a girly girl, so they didn't really know I wanted to play with them because I wasn't a boy. And the girls, you know, didn't accept me either because I was too much like a tomboy, you know. So I couldn't relate to the things they were doing. I couldn't relate to their makeup parties and all that stuff. It just didn't interest me, you know. It wasn't so I didn't really have friends. I was very much an outsider and very much alone, grew up very lonely.
And so when did your first relationship with a girl start? Because I think when you're that alone, any attention is then quite welcoming, especially if it's a personal and an honest attention. You know, so how did that start for you?
Well, when I was around 15, I was in high school, and that's when things really started developing quite rapidly in terms of, I'd say, in terms of a gay lifestyle. And there was, you know, I used to catch a bus to meet a friend in town, and the bus was always early, so I would walk through what was Hillbrow, and then on the way there was a record shop, and there was a woman that worked there who was gay, and she took a liking to me. I was only 15, you know. I was very oblivious, you know. It wasn't like I was looking for relationships, or I was very much in my own world. And then she started inviting me for coffee, and of course I was intrigued by the attention, and eventually I went, and then she also started saying to me, listen, you know, you're actually gay, and really started pursuing me, started coming to my school after, you know, waiting for me after school and giving me love letters, and so that was kind of a first real awakening inside of me. And I didn't really think of myself as gay. There was definitely something inside of me that just reacted to the affirmation and the attention and the, that affirmation that you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was 15, it started. Yeah.
And then obviously it spiraled from there on. And I know that at one stage you said that it really spiraled into such a bad place that you were, living a complete different lifestyle. Your hair was shaved off, you were on drugs. But then this Christian couple took you in I love what you were saying, when you told me the story, without judgment, which is so profound for me, because so often in this world, we find ourselves with people judging. And I'm unsure how judging someone for being different and for being lost and for seeking love, how judgment would actually change that, because
judgment is completely counterproductive. I mean, it's when you're hurting and when you're looking for love, and you need love, you need friends, I was lonely and I was hurting all the time.
Like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel to allow us to make more episodes and be inspired and empowered by incredible people. And acceptance, someone to accept you for who you are. And if you don't know who you are, it's even harder to feel accepted. So tell me about this couple and how they impacted your life.
Well, I was now studying art, and I had a lot of questions that I needed answers to, and I was seeking those answers. I knew that I was hurting, and I knew that what I was experiencing, the life that I was living, and the drugs and everything, all the things that everywhere I was looking, I knew that they were actually not giving me what I needed, So I befriended this lady, this peer in one of my classes, because I'd watched them date, and then I watched them get married, and that kind of really, really surprised me, because they were so young, and it was contrary to like what you're so used to, people just like living together or whatever. But the marriage thing really spoke to me. I thought, okay, it kind of grabbed my attention, because I thought, well, this is, when people get married, that's a huge step, it's a big decision. And that caught my attention. So I started asking her questions, and she just answered it in a very, she just befriended me. She didn't like think, oh, I don't accept you. And she didn't, they knew that I was gay, and they knew who I was, and my hair was really very short. And I mean, I looked like a boy. I was totally unashamedly out, and so she just really just befriended me, and then her husband too, and as that friendship grew, I started to ask more and more questions, and they started to answer very directly in love, from scripture, and in a way, it wasn't always easy to hear those kind of very direct answers, but it's what I needed, and
I think when it's given, when truth and answers are given in love and without judgment, it's almost about the way it comes across that makes it powerful. I think people can feel judgment, it's something in the air.
Yeah, they can, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So,
and then we can't hear. If we feel judged, we can't hear. So, I mean, I know then you started reading a Bible. It wasn't even your own Bible. Tell us about how that happened, and how God literally came to you.
Well, I was, my dad used to speak to me when I was growing up. I used to really try and argue with my father, and say, I used to like try and sort of provoke him, and and he used to just say to me, Nicky, just read the Bible, and I used to get so irritated with that answer, because it was too simplistic,
Yeah.
And yet he was right. I kind of used to look at that Bible on the shelf at my house, and wonder, like, what is actually in that book, you know. And I knew that I couldn't make a fair judgment on it unless I'd actually read it, you know, unless I knew what was in there for myself. So yeah, at this time I was involved with a woman who was a bit older than me, and in a serious relationship. And one night I took a Bible off her shelf, and it was the Bible that her mother had given her, and I flipped it open into Proverbs, and I started reading it, and I just turned around, and it just, you know, it was like so simple, and I looked at it and I said to her, but this is the truth, you know. Just reading it, I just, you know, just like, oh, there it is. Yeah, this is it. You know, what I'd been looking for all the time, and just, oh, here it is. And I mean, yeah. So I started reading the word, and it was, you know, then I started experiencing the power that in it, you know, and yeah, I realized that this was, you know, this, because I knew that whatever I needed had to be powerful. It had to have power. Otherwise, you know, what was the point, you know? So yeah, that was where it all started.
That's amazing. Wow. And obviously then you had this incredible spiritual experience, really, you know, growing closer and closer to God. I love how you explained it to me, you know, previously. It's just the more you were seeking and the more you were wanting to know God, the more he kind of just showed you who he was, and how his love and his presence just took over. And then obviously, you know, you met your husband, and the rest is history. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I was studying, and this Christian couple from Cape Town moved up, and I shared a studio with the wife, and we became very good friends. And they kind of mentored me a lot, you know. They kind of, you know, they discipled me a lot. Both a very committed, spirit-filled Christian couple. And then one night, you know, one day the husband said to this friend of mine who I was sharing with, he said, yeah, you know, I think that Nicky and Skalk should meet, because they knew Skalk from Stellenbosch, from Cape Town. And so we actually arranged a blind date, and we went to their flat in Yeovil, and initially we did not like each other.
Really?
We were like, yeah, because we're both very strong personalities. And we can both be very stubborn, and yeah, so we kind of clashed, because we both kind of such strong personalities. And you know, my husband's mom is gay, so he was like quite surprised that these friends of his had set up a blind date with a you know, gay, you know, previously gay woman. He's still coming, you know, transitioning in a way out of that, knowing that his mom is gay, you know. So anyway, yeah, God brought us together. I mean, I'd been praying for a year prior to that for a husband, because I didn't want to, you know, I always knew that I wanted to have children and a family, but I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know, in my brokenness and in my emotional, in my anger and my in a way hatred of men and all that stuff. I didn't know how to reconcile, you know, all these things inside of me with what I wanted. I don't know how to bridge that gap. So
wow. How to get from here to here.
Yes,
Wow.
I didn't know how to get it. I knew that this is where I was and that's what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get to that. I didn't know how to have that. But I wanted that.
Right?
I wanted that. I always wanted children, and I wanted a family, but because I didn't want to, you know, become old with in a gay lifestyle, to be honest. Like, I didn't want that. So and yeah, I just, you know, God made that possible. He started healing me. He started doing a work inside of me that made that possible to, and also my desires changed, you know. The fear and all that stuff, you know, the fear of being intimate with a man and being married, you know. I started dealing with those fears, and yeah, and you know, we basically from the time we met to the time we were married was 6 months. And I'd been praying for a year prior, and I said, look, God, I want to be married. I want a husband, but I have no idea how to do that. I'm not going pub crawling. I'm not going onto dating sites. I don't know. I have no clue how to do that. I'd hardly had any boyfriends in my life. I'd always mainly been with women. I'd had kind of boyfriends, but not serious relationships with guys.
Yeah.
And and then we had this blind date, and then he came back from Namibia because he was working there, and we went away with friends for a weekend, and that's kind of where we really started realizing that we actually really, really like each other. Like there's definitely a connection. Yeah, there's lots of similarities, lots of common ground.
That's amazing. And I know you guys a little bit. I mean, just the relationship that you have is beautiful. You guys are such good friends. You have fun together.
Mostly.
Mostly. Like in any marriage, right? Like, look, let's just be honest. Marriage is hard, no matter what.
It's hard, John.
It's hard
work. It's very hard.
It takes perseverance. It takes grit. It takes acceptance.
And will. Yeah, you've got to want to be married. You've got to want to stay together.
To want to working hard at it. So, I mean, that's normal in any marriage. Nicky, your art is incredible. We have about 2 minutes left. I have to just talk about your beautiful pieces and how inspiring it is literally to just stand there, look at it and just experience literally what God has done in you. What inspires you now to make these art, and how long does it take you to make an art piece like that? Because I mean, it seems like, you look at the finished picture, but how long does it actually take to make a piece like that?
It takes weeks. Takes weeks. Yeah, it's a very intensive process. Drawing takes much quicker because it's more direct. I'm just drawing directly onto paper. But printmaking is more indirect, and it's etching into aluminium plates and perspex sometimes. So, yeah, it's a much more intensive process. And most of my work is just trying to process and deal with things that I'm going through emotionally, and trying to communicate my relationship with God and how I relate to him and how he relates to me, and and trying to make that visual, trying to make my Christian walk visual, and also the difficulties and the things that I go through, the everyday battles, and the emotional things that really, for me, art making is a way of processing, and really just processing things that I'm going through.
Yeah. What message would you like to bring across to people out there, whether they be gay or whether they just so lost within themselves and so not accepting of themselves, and just feel so abandoned in this world, because that's such a lonely feeling? What message would you have for people out there?
I think what I would say is that, firstly, that Jesus is alive, that he is real, that he is absolutely alive, that he's a living God. And secondly, that he loves you, that he actually loves us, that he doesn't sit on his throne and judge. That's not what he does. He came to earth and died on a cross and suffered a horrible death because of his love for us, not because of judgment. So in fact, it's to avoid judgment, for us not to be judged, that he did that. So, I just want to encourage people that are feeling lonely and lost that there's always hope. I think that's what I want to say, that if God can bring me out of a very, very dark, painful, lonely place where I was doing lots of acid and drugs and all the stuff, if he can bring me out of that and give me hope, then he can do it for anybody. Really, he can do it for anybody. The fact that I'm alive today and not dead in a tomb, in a grave, is an absolute miracle. Sure. It's got nothing to do with me. All I had to do was say, yes, okay, I'm choosing to trust you, God. That's all I had to do. And then just follow him, follow his leading out of the darkness, out of that stuff, Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's what I would say is the only, know that there is hope, that there are people out there that can help you, that there are people that, find a church, find somebody, reach out. And if there's Christians in your community or in your class or wherever you are, make friends with them, and just know that there's hope, there is hope, there is hope. I just want to say that again. I want to iterate that there is hope. There is hope, and there is a way out, that we don't have to stay lonely and desperate and hurting. I think that's the other thing. There's so many of us who are hurting, and we don't know where to find relief and healing for that hurt.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Nicky. Thank you for being so honest, and thank you for your message. And let your light shine through your pieces. You are making such a difference. Thanks for being here.
Lorna. Okay.
Well, that's it from me, Lorna Greyling and Woman Power. Join us again next week, same time, same place. If you want to go and have a look at Nicky's incredible artwork, her details and her website will be on the screen right now. Take a look at it. Until next week, goodbye.